Let's get crazy right off the bat. All right, let's get crazy here. Confirm or deny Easton Cowan should be given a legit shot at making the team. A legit chance at making the team this year.
I am going to.
I'll let you two. I will let you two answer.
I can either confirm or deny that.
I just want to say before I answer the question that in most situations, it's better for the kid to go to junior. Mm-hmm. But I brought up that kid Wyatt Johnston last year. They probably didn't know or think that he was playing in the NHL. Sometimes you just leave the door open, and if the guy's good enough to play, there's no bin where you put your driver's license walking into an NHL dressing room. You either play or you can't play. So just let the kid play the rest of the preseason games and see what he's got. Leave it open. Hazy confirmed.
So that's a confirm. Okay. All right. Am I going now, Noodles? You're giving the floor to me?
Wow.
I'm going to confirm this as well. That doesn't mean he's going to make the team. No, the phrasing is important here.
By the way, guys, just a little tidbit. His nickname's Cowboy.
I love it. He's got a mullet. Listen, he plays with energy. But it's the statement is given a legit chance. Doesn't mean
confirm
that he's going to make it. Yes, but
Hazy, everyone has there's some guys it's like, dude, you're going to the minors. You're here to play for the minors. But everyone, if you just play, you have a legit chance of somebody saying, that guy deserves
That's all it is. Now, maybe the team philosophy is it doesn't matter, you're going back. And if that's the case, then it's already been determined, and I wouldn't be surprised if that is the case. But for me, a team that, is up against the cap, that can factor in, but also, what kind of depth do they have once you get to 11, 12, 13, 14 forward. And making the team means you could go back 7 games in, 8 games in. If he's sitting out of the lineup, boom, see you later, you're gone. Yeah, I'll confirm that.
All right. Keep in mind, like the kid, I've been singing his praises.
Of course.
We're singing his praises.
Yes.
All we're asking for is a legitimate chance, Noodles.
And I'm denying it, and here's why. I believe, Bryan, you just said, there's probably it's preconceived that the kid is going to go back to junior, what's best for his development at 18 years old. This is not a guy who was the 3rd overall pick and they're force-feeding into the lineup like we've seen Kotkaniemi, Slafkovsky. We've seen other guys. This is a guy who was picked at 28 who, by all accounts is going to be a really good NHL player. Let him season. Give him the full preseason if you want. Give him a bunch of experience, but also give him the opportunity to grow in a great junior program, like you guys have pointed out.
Yes,
in London, Ontario. Yep. So I'm denying it. Where it doesn't matter if the kid he's the Brandon Perlini and leads the preseason with 8 goals. You put him where he can develop and he can be here for the whole meal, not a cup of coffee.
Okay. All right.
How about
reasonable.
this?
That's the way I feel.
Get 120 points in London and play in the NHL next year. Are we in business with that?
Well, yeah, obviously that'd be outstanding for his development and the Maple Leafs for that matter. Absolutely. All right, confirm or deny. Damian Lillard will show up to camp in Portland if he's not traded before it starts. Think this guy shows up in Portland?
I have a pre-question. If he doesn't, he doesn't get paid?
Yeah,
the team would suspend him, I guess, at that point.
I think he shows up. I think he shows up when you're talking about that kind of coin. I'm showing up. I'll be like, I tried to get traded. I didn't. They want to keep me here to be miserable. Mm-hmm. I'll be miserable, but I'll collect. I will collect.
Yep.
100% confirm.
Yeah, I'm confirming it too. Cash is king. You can have all the lip service you want, but when you start missing checks, they're reaching into your pocket, that's where you're like, okay, my stance is my stance, but I still want to get paid.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because you really got to commit one way or the other. If you're committing to just not showing up, then you kind of got to stay home for months, possibly, right? Like if you're going down that road where it's like, you got to understand, I'm never playing again. But generally, I'm going to confirm this as well because generally the playbook, and James Harden has written it, he's got a full trilogy out. You show up, you sabotage, right?
Yes.
You show up and you sabotage. In order to sabotage, you got to be right there in the trenches. And I don't get the impression that Dame's a bad guy, wants to do that. I think he's got a lot of love for Portland, the Trailblazers, and all that kind of stuff. I don't think he wanted it to go this long, but it is. It is going this long, and camps open up, in less than a week. All right, confirm and deny. Sean Payton will still be the coach of the Broncos in 3 years.
No, to totally deny that. And it would be his choice. He didn't sign up for some gong show. He's the guy that goes in as the closer and says, we're not garbage anymore. We're going to be good. He's not going to deal with how long a contract did the guy sign?
I'm sure
3-year
it was
deal?
It had to be probably 4 or 5 year deal. They gave up assets to get him. He's Sean Payton. They paid him. They're paying him a fortune. I'm confirming this because of the money. You can make a lot of money and go back and work for Fox. He's made a lot of money in his career. If he did leave New Orleans, right? That's why they had to acquire him technically, because he stepped away from New Orleans, and New Orleans was like, well, you're still under contract here. So he is prone to doing that.
You know how long a struggling franchise, like they're 100-year seasons. Mm-hmm. Like if they're garbage throughout the whole year and they don't turn it around this year, and that turns into another year where they maybe get rid of Russ and they're garbage again, it's like a lifetime wrapped up in 3 seasons where he could just say, I'm denying this totally.
I'm denying it too because I think his ego is too big. I think and also it might be a situation if there's a tire fire for 2 or 3 years in a row, they might find a way to give him the John Gruden treat.
Yeah.
They might, they might find a way to go,
you think after those comments for our boy Nate Hackett that he wants to hitch his wagon to a dumpster fire rolling down the street? No way.
No, but you would think his ego can go both ways. It can deploy a shoot, or it can basically say, I'm going down because I'm going to prove I'm better than this, and I can win because I'm the great Sean Payton, and it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. Like, we're 3 games in and we're actually disputing this. That's how bad it is in Denver.
Yeah.
That's how embarrassing it is.
They just had 70 put up on them.
Yeah, and Nathaniel Hackett, it's not much better. Like, what kind of offensive playbook does the Hack have for Zach Wilson? Not exactly a Picasso out in New York either. That's what now Hackett's around and Rodgers isn't even there. I wonder if Salah's like, dude, can you just leave me alone? I do not need to see you either. Confirm or deny, the Blue Jays will be a heavy favorite if they play Minnesota in the wild card. Heavy favorite.
I don't think when you're going to a visiting team's ballpark, you're going to be a heavy favorite regardless. It's amazing how this team, and I'm not even talking about Toronto Scribes or our show or any other show, like people are talking about this team in a different fashion than I've never seen a turnaround like it. There's pieces about a path to the World Series. And everyone else is believing too. They love Gausman. You get Barrios, you get Bassett. It's like, who the hell? Nobody wants to play the Jays. It's almost like, let's get this thing cooking. But being a favorite, I don't know. You're going into a visiting team's park. They still are the team that played the whole season and have had the rocky road and the ups and downs. So I'm denying that they would be a favorite in Mini.
And you're only as good as your last playoff game where it was 8-1.
Ooh, that is accurate.
Some of those guys still have to wear that stain, right? So
Yep.
I would say they could be favored, but I'm denying heavily favored just based on inconsistency this season and, again, what I just mentioned. It was 8-1.
Yeah, I'm going to deny it as well because another part of this is if they end up playing Mini now, that probably means they stub their toe this final week, right? So it's another thing. It's like, what kind of mojo are you going to have if you're in a situation here where they are statistically favored to play Tampa and have that second wild card? If you effectively, backdoor your way in, plus that means everything's going to come back alive about how inconsistent they are. They're not clutch. They don't have that clutch gene to close the door when it was necessary the final week of the season. All that will go against them in terms of the odds. And yes, Minnesota's not great, but they're still a good team, and they're at home. A good team at home in baseball, 3-game series, you're not going to see a heavy favorite. That doesn't mean it's going to flip the other way. Minnesota will not be. More than likely going to be closer to a pick-em than anything else. But Jays will not be a heavy favorite. Confirm or deny, Auston Matthews will turn into an elite full-time penalty killer.
Elite full-time penalty killer. I'm going to deny it because I don't think he's out there to be an elite penalty killer. I think it's kind of a part-time assignment. Just like last night, you saw that with 30 seconds left in the period. He got a 2-on-1 and was almost changing the game with a big-time goal. But I don't know if he's going to move into what Mitch is doing, where it's like first guy out on the penalty kill, and he might get 2 or 3 cracks at it to like kill the penalty. I'm not sure if that's the desired effect with Auston Matthews.
Yeah, I'm not convinced. I agree. I deny it as well. I'm not convinced he gets, if they have 5 minutes on the penalty kill, he's getting like 3.5 of it. I think he will kill penalties, but define to me how much he will. Like he might be on a second unit. He might be on near the end of it. Like I don't know if it's literally Mitch and Auston first guy over the boards the minute that there's a kill based on the 5-on-5. I'm also going on based on the 5-on-5. Sheldon was very careful with his words, but he also said like he hasn't killed penalties because we focus on the 5-on-5 and his production. So they're going to have to balance that, and that's still a balancing act moving forward. So I don't think he'll be the primary guy, but I do believe he'll kill penalties.
Yeah, I'm going to confirm this because I think he is going to kill penalties. I think that's been announced. I think he's committed to it. I think he understands it. And I think he's such a smart player. A lot of being an elite penalty killer is about having an IQ for it. And it doesn't necessarily mean, and I think you guys are onto something, I don't think he's going to throw him over the boards all the time. Is he going to kill 5-on-3 penalties? I doubt it, although, if he's 60% on the draw, he might, because then usually it's about who can win a draw. That's how you basically draw up the beginning of a 5-on-3. But I think if he's given the opportunity, he will excel, right? I would say that about McKinnon. I'd say that about McDavid. I'd say that about Draisaitl.
Right.
And I think Matthews deserves that type of credit too. He's just a really, really smart player. And yes, he doesn't have a ton of history doing it, but if they're going to grant him that future, I think he'll find a way to be very impactful at it. So I'll confirm it. Confirm or deny, final one here. Justin Thomas, your boy, will supply at least 2.5 points for the USA at the Ryder Cup.
Scotty Vales, be mad at me for saying this, but I 100% confirm it. 100%.
Wow.
Because he is a Ryder Cup machine. And I will bet you $5,000 the U.S. becomes victorious on Sunday.
You got them beating
Wow.
Europe? Well, listen, they are.
Do you accept?
Yeah, I will accept that. Here's my concern, because we just saw it with the Solheim Cup. The Americans, to retain the Ryder Cup, they only need 14. Europe needs 14.5. Right, that little half, very concerning. Right, the women, the Americans, they had a chance. And they ended up tying 14-14. So Europe.
By the way, a little side note on the Solheim. Lexi Thompson was 3-0-1, but all people could talk about was her 2 bad shots. Shame on you.
Right, shame on. They were horrible shots, but you're
Dude,
right.
I get it. She was 3-0-1. How about
I know,
the
she
people
won,
that
and she
choked
won her own
away the
match.
Solheim? Yeah.
She won her own
Talk
match
about
to
the other
close it.
people. Nelly Corda lost right in front of her. Why don't you
Nellie's
talk about
putts were terrible all week. She was terrible.
But all they could say was, Lexi, you just
Yeah.
you chunked that chip. What happened?
Right. Well, though,
She's like-
it was a totally reasonable question to ask her. Like, hey, take us through that, because the one chip that she hit was one of the worst chips we've seen a professional
Dude,
hit.
I totally
It was
get it. She
horrendous on
putts
18.
like she doesn't even know where the hole is. But at the end of the day, she was 3-0-1.
Yeah, she was.
And
Yep.
all they were talking about was the putt, and it was kind of some goofy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But 3-0-1.
3-on-1, and she's an American golfing legend, right? Like, that's what she is. They all love her. She's basically the leader of that team. She is the leader of that team. But I'm going to deny this in terms of Thomas 2.5. Now, I think Fred
Really?
Couples said, Freddie's popping off, man. Freddie can't wait to talk about different things. And then,
Loves it.
Zach Johnson's like, Fred, can you just pipe down a little bit, please? But everyone knows it's going to be Schauffele and Cantlay, and it's going to be Spieth and Thomas. And Freddie, I guess, said those two teams are going out for all 4, right? So, in other words, Thomas is going to have the opportunity to bring home 5 points in some capacity. I'm taking the under. All day the
Wow.
under. The way
I'm taking
JT's
the
playing,
over.
no. No.
I'm taking the over. I
the
think
Americans
you can find
puke
this
in
game.
Europe. They stink in Europe. They always do.
Dude, you
Not Whistling Straits anymore.
You have a short memory to what happened at Whistling Straits.
It's not Whistling Straits.
They dummied them over there.
It doesn't
Rory
matter.
McIlroy and Shane Lowry were crying.
It doesn't matter. That's in Wisconsin, dude. They're in Rome now. All right? They're in the Tuscan countryside, I think, or they're close to Tuscany.
Oh,
And
really? Do you think the Italian crowd is really going to
Yes.
freak out the Americans?
They will, because the Italians will be going nuts, but it's not only them. The English will be down there. The Spanish will be down there. The French, the Irish. Yeah, you know Europe, they travel. For a situation like this and a team up and root against the Americans.
Now you're looking at a European map. You're telling me that who's going to be down there to fly in?
That's right. The Norwegians, they'll be there representing our boy
Working
Rick
the crowd.
Hovland.
You're working the crowd. I believe in JT. I'm over 2.5.
I will say one thing.
You're crazy.
Any combination of Rahm, Adberg, McIlroy, who's the guy that won?
Rick
the FedEx?
Hovland.
Ricky Hovland. Like that 4-pack.
I'll give you a
If they
fifth.
get-
I'll give you a fifth who's been great since he said to me on 6th green at Oakdale golf shot. Tommy Fleetwood's been outstanding. Fleetwood's been a top 10 player in the world for the last 3 months. The golf
because
shot.
of you.
6th
You
green.
think Tommy Fleetwood's going to scare people at the
Yes.
Ryder Cup?
If he plays the way he was playing down the stretch, the guy was a stud.
What does it mostly come down to? Who makes the most what at the Ryder Cup?
Putts, is that what you're saying? Putts?
Yes.
Tommy Fleetwood
Tommy
doesn't exactly
he can roll
roll
the rock. He can roll the JT doesn't either. Thomas stinks on the greens. Thomas doesn't roll putts well. So there goes your whole case for him going 5-0. I'm not worried about Tommy Fleetwood. Golf
I just
shot.
need 2.5 points. 2.5 points from JT. That's what
Okay.
I'm leaning into.
Tommy Fleetwood
You know what?
is a stud. Shane Lowry, your boy. That's your doppelganger, Shane Lowry. Just two good Irish boys. Maybe
Buddy,
that was
Tommy
the guy you
Fleetwood
saw.
played 9 holes with you and didn't even acknowledge you were alive.
That's
Okay?
not true.
Yeah, it is.
He
did
saw
not.
me almost chisel in a 60-degree out of deep rough behind the green, 6th green at Oakdale. I missed the birdie chip by an inch, tapped in putt for par, and he said golf shot as the ball was in the air. Spinning, a TP5. He plays
didn't.
TaylorMade. He's looking.
I know
was
he
looking
does,
at it.
but
He's
he
like,
didn't
That's
say.
a TaylorMade TP5. I said, that's right.
He didn't say golf shot.
He
No,
said
he didn't.
golf shot, and
No,
he
he
said it
didn't,
loudly.
dude.
There were people in the crowds, like they were enamored by the idea that Tommy Fleetwood was complimenting my short game at Oakdale.
Wow.
Golf shot.
There was a buzz. There was a buzz
buzz.
about your game.
It was a
I love it.
legitimately like high class short game.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Exactly.